to start this conference. I'm Abigail Echo-Hawk. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. Shout out to the other Pawnees here. Super excited to see you. On my father's side, I'm the daughter of Howard and Yvonne Echo-Hawk. On my mother's side, I was actually born and raised in the heart of Alaska amongst the upper Athabascan people of Mentasta Lake, Alaska. And I am so fortunate to come from such incredible tribal backgrounds and to be able to see all of you here today for one reason and one reason only, because we love our people. That is why we are here today, and I'm so blessed to be along with Linda, to be your MC here. So you may see me running around out there asking you to come in, making some jokes, hopefully giving away some cool stuff. So we're going to give away cool stuff, I promise. And the best stuff is always the last day, so those of you who are trying to sneak out, you're going to lose out. So try to make it here for the last day, because that's when all the best stuff is. And I really just want to thank the Honor Guard. Thank you, Leonard, for offering the prayer. For the drum group. When we start off in a good way, when I opened up my window this morning in this beautiful room that I am, I opened it up and I saw that fog. And I had been taught by my elders that when that fog comes, it's the sky coming to greet us. That is the kind of opening that I want to be in. When we hear those songs, when we offer these prayers, the wind, the trees, the land knows who we are and is welcoming us into this space along with our host tribe for us to come here to do good work for our people. So I want to thank every one of you that came here, because I know that it's a sacrifice to leave your families, to leave your tribes, to leave your cities, to leave your communities, to come here and to spend these days with us. I want to thank you for making that sacrifice to come here and to be in relationship with one another. And so what I'm going to ask of all of you guys, and I promise there'll be door prizes associated with this, so just definitely follow directions, is make some new friends. Sit at a table where you don't know anybody. Introduce yourself. We have these big, giant name cards. They're huge. Show them to each other. Get to know each other. Our people had relationship with one another. We shared with each other. There's so much knowledge in what is happening in the Pacific Northwest that those of you on the East Coast need to know about. There's knowledge in what's happening here in this incredible community and whose land we stand on that all of us need to know about. So welcome. Come together in relationship. Speak words to each other of blessing and goodness and kindness. Come together in a good way. Offer those words so the trees, the land, the rocks, the mountains, the rivers know that you are here and that you come in a good way for the health and well-being of our people. So in the Pacific Northwest, where I am now fortunate to live, I was taught by the elders there that when we have prayers and blessings, that I'm to raise my hands because you lift me up. So thank you, everybody who offered those songs, brought in those flags, and offered the prayer. You lift us up. And when we leave this place on Friday, everybody leave on Friday, best door prizes in the afternoon. When we leave this place on Friday, you'll not only know each other, this land will know you, this air will know you. We will come together in a way for the health and well-being of our people for one reason only, because we love our Indian people and they deserve the best. We were once the healthiest people on this land, and we will be the healthiest people again. And your work will do this. You're all here because people need to come to us because we have the answers, not because they think we have the problems. Bring the answers. Everybody sitting at these tables are waiting to hear them. Share with each other. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to get into our program. I'm excited to get to know you all and, again, to be in relationship with you. Thank you.
I want to also thank everyone for being here this morning in our lovely Minnesota, which it was forecasted to be 80 degrees today. We have and my friends from the East Coast or West Coast are like, well, this is kind of like normal. But regardless, you wait a day or a couple hours and the weather will change, so who knows what it's going to be. But if I could, and as an elder, I do have obligations, and I want to tell a very, very brief story. And it occurred to me yesterday whenever I was looking out the window at the bronze horses kind of off in the distance. And I had an opportunity one time to do some work with a Great Plains tribe, and the project was an equine project, which was to help youth. And so during the course of that, the culmination of this experience was we were all supposed to go trail riding. And so we went out to where the corral was, and there are very few saddles because, saddles are quite expensive, and, you need to ride bareback. Well, I was rather most happy whenever they ran out of horses because I didn't have to ride bareback then. It's been a few years. But the image that I saw as we drove along in a car along the road is the kids were ahead of us on their horses, and then all of a sudden they dashed off into the woods. And so we continued to drive. And I'm sorry, I have goosebumps telling this story, but all of a sudden we're to this clearing, and that image of those bronze horses, all of a sudden the kids pop out of the woods, and those horses are at full gallop. Their hair is streaming behind them. This is an image that I will always remember. So others may have similar images, but do it in your own way, in a good way, to remember some of those things that we had and what our ancestors had. So before I forget, my job is to introduce the speakers, but I do need to mention that in consultation with our host tribe and with others, there will not be prayers at the beginning of each meal. So those of you that participate in those sorts of things, please do that on your own and do whatever you need to do. But we do not have any formal prayer ceremonies for the meals. So our first speaker is Jesse Chase from the Shakopee, Minnewacan Sioux community. Jesse is the chair of the tribe's Seeds of Native Health campaign. Seeds of Native Health is a $10 million campaign that seeks to improve the nutritional health of Native Americans across the country. Mr. Chase also leads the Shakopee, Minnewacan Sioux community communication / member government interaction work group and serves on the tribe's enrollment and education with CP communities. Next we have Dean Burr, who is an applied economist, Dean of the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resource Sciences at the University of Minnesota and the director of the Minnesota Agricultural Experiment Station. Prior to his interim dean appointment, Dr. Burr led the Division of Applied Economics and Agricultural Education at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Burr also received Outstanding Policy Contribution Award from the American Agricultural Economic Association, the University of Minnesota College of Food, and Agriculture and Natural Resource Sciences Distinguished Teaching Award, as well as the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resource Sciences Distinguished Faculty Award. And our last speaker for this session will be Nikki Fargo, Assistant Commissioner of Children and Family Services for Minnesota Department of Human Services. In her role, Ms. Fargo offers oversight and direction to Children and Family Service Administration, oversees child welfare and public assistance policy, and coordinates projects across Children and Family Services. She also supervises child well-being initiative for counties, tribes, and partner agencies, leads operational activities, and represents children and family services for the department at large. Before becoming Assistant Commissioner, Ms. Fargo served as Children and Family Services Deputy Assistant Commissioner and as Legislation and External Affairs Director. So, without further ado, let's welcome our speakers.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Shakopee Minnewacan Sioux community, welcome to the third annual Conference on Native American Nutrition. It's exciting to see this conference grow. Following the success of the past two conferences, we added additional programming, and I'm happy to see so many faces in the crowd today. I can say that my community is honored that you have joined us here today. As a Dakota tribe, many of our decisions are guided by our heritage. The Dakota have a long-standing tradition of helping others and sharing their resources. We're proud to be among the top philanthropic donors in Minnesota and in Indian country. The SMSC is committed to supporting important causes both locally and across Indian country. That's why our tribe launched Seeds of Native Health, a $10 million campaign to improve Native American nutrition. Through Seeds of Native Health, we have supported grassroots efforts and launched advocacy campaigns to improve nutrition in Indian country. We've also hosted conferences like the one here this week that bring stakeholders together to share, learn, and discuss issues related to Indigenous health and well-being. We're proud to host this conference as a part of Seeds of Native Health. You're welcome to learn more about the campaign by reading our brochure found in your conference folder. Seeds of Native Health began in 2015, and it stemmed from our tribe's own internal efforts to improve our community's health and food access. As we work to improve our tribe's health, we learn more and more about the widespread dietary health crisis across Indian country. There's incredible work being done across the country to improve Native health. Seeds of Native Health was built to support it, knowing that working together can drive the most meaningful impact. On that note of partnership, I would like to thank the University of Minnesota. The university has collaborated with our tribe on many projects over the years, including Seeds of Native Health and this conference. I'd like to thank the university's Healthy Foods, Healthy Lives Institute, led by Mindy Kurzer, for their expertise in organizing this conference. Please know how happy we all are to welcome you here today. Thank you for joining us to share your insights, build new relationships, and come together over good food and our shared goal of making Native communities healthier. Thank you. I'd like to invite Dean Burr up to speak next.
Thank you, Jesse. And thank you and welcome everyone to this third edition, I guess, of the Conference on Native Nutrition. We're delighted to have sponsored this, delighted to be a part of the programs of Seeds of Native Health with the Shakopee, Bedwalkin, and Sioux, and the tremendous support they've provided over the years to develop this conference. And it's truly gratifying. I was talking to a person this morning who's leading the conference from Goff Associates to learn that the first year we had 400 people, the second year we had 400 people. Last year we had 500 people, and this year we have close to 600 people here, which is a great. And I think that as we're learning, we're finding more and more of these answers coming together, and people are more and more interested, as Abigail said, in finding those answers and discovering those answers. I think that's what draws people here, and is really quite important. And I want to welcome Jessie as well. We'd worked for years, of course, with Lori Watts, who had been a key driver in this, and want to recognize her past support and welcome Jesse on board to this wonderful endeavor too, and thank him for his work. So how many of you have been here for all 3 years? I'm just curious. A show of hands. So people are shy this morning. There has, out of 600 people, it can't be all new every year, but it's great to see all of you here. And over the 3 years, I always reflect each year on what I've learned. It has been quite a learning experience, and I continue to look forward to that today. And the first year, I recall a young man who was a doctor, and I'm trying to recall his name off the top of my head. It was Brandon One Feather, I believe. He's a medical doctor in endocrinology, and he talked about his own personal journey with type 2 diabetes and how he had learned both from his science of endocrinology, and then he looked to his traditional values, and he was Plains Indian, and building protein into his diet and doing kind of a one-person experiment to try to improve his health, and had done so, and connecting, as this conference is all about, how do we link the academic side with traditional knowledge and wisdom to solve those problems. Last year, I was fascinated. We don't often in the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resource Sciences think about crop production in fields and going out and farming. Conversations about the food outside of our own homes, the food that is in our woods and our forests, in our front yards with dandelions, for example, and the medicinal properties those food has, and truly linking together this idea that we are connected to the food, connected to the land, the natural resources, and being able to engage particularly young people in that conversation about thinking about where their food is, why food is important to them, their health, and the environment as well, so thinking in those terms. And then I can't help it, it's almost like instantaneously you walk in here and you start to have experiences that inform what you're doing. And I happened to sit down at the table with Abigail Echo-Hawk this morning, who I'd met before. And of course, I'm self-conscious talking after you because you're so good at building up the momentum here, and then I feel like I'm going to destroy it, but because I'm not that interesting. But she gave me, and sorry, Abigail, I won't get your organization correct. We're from Seattle, and works in health and public health in Indian country across the nation. And she gave me this wonderful bag and described the meaning of this. You probably can't see this beautiful image on it, but it's of the removal of Indians as they moved across land were given ledgers to draw on. And part of that is the data connection as she was describing it to me. And I'm sorry, Abigail, I feel like apologizing. I'm sure I'm getting this completely wrong, but I was just really amazing. And then the beautiful artwork that was done from the traditional values and telling the stories about their connections to lands and what that meant for them. And now this idea of how do we, again, bridge together that data, decolonizing the data, looking from a positive perspective, and how do we find answers and answer these challenges, and the connection between that art and data and moving forward with that. So it's just it was a moving. So if you have a chance I'm going to put her on the spot. If you have a chance to visit with her today, she can tell the story much better than I can. But again, it exemplifies this conference. And again, just a brief learning moment from almost the moment you walk in to talk about those in a good way, talking about how we work together to solve and address and find the answers to some of the native nutrition challenges. So with that, I'll simply close by saying that those stories I tell only briefly and probably not very well to sort of exemplify what I see as the power of SMSE's, the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux's vision in creating seed and native health in this conference. I certainly want to thank Mindy Kurzer and the team that the planning team that draws this together. There certainly are answers here to find over the next couple of days. And I want to thank all of you. Abigail said this very well, for coming together, find someone new, learn together, experience this. I'm sure you'll draw away from these answers and insights that we wouldn't have without this conference. So thank you all for joining us, and I'll certainly look forward to the rest of the day and the rest of the week in the conference. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today to have the opportunity to do a short welcome and to be here on this occasion for this energizing conference on Native American nutrition. I want to extend my greetings to the tribal leaders and the elders that are here that are sharing their wisdom about indigenous foodways and leading their communities. It's really exciting to have so many people here. This is my first opportunity to attend this conference, and before staff approached me about this opportunity, I already had it on my calendar. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. And it's for many reasons, but when I was thinking about this conference, I was thinking about all the meanings that food has and all the weight that it carries. And it's so many things. For me, it's healing. Food is medicine, and it's history, it's family, and it's community building. And I think this is particularly true for indigenous culture. I think back to my childhood when my family and I would spend summers going back to the reservation and visiting with our extended family members. And food was always a major part of that gathering. So whether it was getting there in time in the early summer for the Strawberry Festival or seeing my grandmother's corn soup on the table, it was always important. My grandmother was famous for her corn soup. She was known throughout the community for it. And I made the mistake of thinking that I could make it a few years ago, and I started asking questions, and it was only then did I start to learn how involved it was and how much preparation and time and care that she put into it, how special it was, and how rooted in tradition that dish was. And when I think of those meals, I'm instantly connected to my relatives, and I'm grateful for that. And when I look back at those memories, the food is much more than nourishment. It was much more than nourishment at the time for my family and myself. And I think this conference is much more about nourishment. It's about how communities can work together to meet the basic needs of their members, including feeding people with healthy food. It's about helping our community members become more self-sufficient And it's about taking an intergenerational approach to feeding, healing, and learning from each other and coming together as a community. At the Minnesota Department of Human Services, we understand that proper nutrition is essential to healthy and fulfilling lives. We work in partnership with tribal nations, the University of Minnesota, and community organizations to administer the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, education and SNAP outreach programs. And we have several representatives from SNAP education here today. The program supports tribes in offering culturally relevant nutrition education and supporting initiatives like community gardens and food sovereignty work. And in our work with our federal partners with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we regularly highlight the amazing work of our tribal communities and how program guidance can be broadened to support this work so that the work is designed not only for our communities, but by our communities. So in closing, I just want to, again, thank the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, and Sioux community, the Seeds of Native Health, and Minnesota's Healthy Foods, Healthy Lives Institute for hosting this really exciting event. And I want to thank all the other speakers and the members who have put their time and energy to be here today to talk about this important issue. And I know I'm looking forward to learning a lot as well in my first year. So thank you all for being here. Have a great time.
Thank you so much to all of our welcoming speakers, and we would especially just like, again, to offer our gratitude to the Minnesota Department of Human Services, who is a diamond sponsor of this conference. And it is so important when we come into a host area like this, when the state is also willing to understand that it is important for them to contribute to all of us Native people and our allies coming together for the health and well-being of our people. So again, thank you, Nikki. Thank you for the state of Minnesota for being a diamond sponsor, and we will look forward to continuing to have this relationship across these conferences that we will continue to hold. So, thank you. So now for the fun part, we get to do some door prizes, and I get to do some introductions of one of my favorite people here at this conference. So let's do something fun. Who exercised this morning? Raise your hand. Okay, who exercised? All right, who did yoga? Let's see, how many do we have? All right, we got 1, 2, 3. All right, who did yoga for 30 minutes? 1. No, 2. We have 2. Do we have 2 back there who did yoga for 30 minutes? Incredible. Good job. Who did yoga for 45 minutes this morning? Because I'm going to be really impressed because I'm 2 hours earlier. It was 4 in the morning when I got up and exercised this morning. I should get some kind of plaque. All right. So we have 2 people from the back who exercised this morning and did yoga for 30 minutes. Congratulations. Give them a round of applause. Get healthy, that's what we're here for. And I encourage everybody, when you find some partners, meet up in the morning, go for a walk, do some stretching during the breaks. And so for those 2 people in the back, come on to the front. This is like the Price is Right runway. You can run with your hands up, win the prize. And I'm going to give you the bag that Brian showed from my organization, the Urban Indian Health Institute, our Decolonized Data bag, along with a t-shirt. Right over here, the wonderful Caitlin. She'll be our Vanna White for the conference. She didn't know she was doing this, so thank you, Caitlin, one of my incredible staff members. So we would like to give you those, and thank you so much. First door prize out the door, so feel free to come up and get those from Caitlin. Feel free to yell bingo anytime that you win. It's just like an Indian word, right? Bingo? It is. If you don't believe me, look it up. It's in the Indian dictionary. You know you got one. And congratulations and thank you guys. And I get to introduce one of my favorite people at this conference. So just really quickly, if you were here at the first conference, stand up. If you were here at the very first conference, yes. Or jump up. All right, go ahead and stay standing. If you were here at the second conference, stand up. If you were here at the third conference, stand up. Trick question, okay? If you're not standing up, you have not woken up yet, and I need to do my job better. All right, you can go ahead and sit down. everybody that stood up, which should have been all of you, we have to thank for that the incredible Mindy Kurzer and her team. They do an incredible job all year wrangling people like me, which is really hard to do. I apologize right now. To come together in planning committee meetings, to create this incredible agenda, to plan the beautiful food that we're going to be eating. Mindy has thought so thoughtfully and carefully about everything that is happening here, from the drinks you're having to the tables that you're sitting at. And I just really appreciate everything that she's done. Mindy is a professor of nutrition and the director of Healthy Foods, Healthy Lives Institute at the University of Minnesota. As the director of the institute, she's responsible for overseeing the awarding of grants for projects exploring issues related to food and health, particularly the integration of agriculture and human health. She oversees this annual symposium, along with others, as numerous networking, research, educational, and community engagement events. She has chaired the planning committee for the first, second, third annual conference, and I'm sure she'll chair the fourth. So thank you so much, Mindy. Please come up. And I just want to thank you for your good work in Indian country. I was recently taught that I shouldn't be called, we don't call ourselves allies. Our community calls us an ally, and we call you an ally. Thank you for being an ally to our community, and thank you for all the work that you do so we could all be here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Abigail. And of course, this was a huge team effort, and I'm going to thank everybody, but not now because we're already 10 minutes late, and I have about 20 minutes worth of stuff that I'm supposed to talk about. So I'm going to forego all of my announcements and housekeeping stuff until lunch. And so at lunch, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about what's happening. Because right now, I have something extremely important to do, which is to explain to you a software that we're going to be using for asking questions of the speakers. So we're going to use this for a few things. First of all, we're going to use it to ask questions. Instead of having a microphone, we're going to ask questions to the speakers through Pigeonhole. So we're going to use it right now to test it out, to show you what we're doing. So the first thing I want you to do is to click on Community Poll number 1. And if you click on that orange box, it says there are 2 questions in this poll. So go begin. And the first question is, what is your primary affiliation? And there are 6 choices. I know that many of you cross over into multiple categories, but you need to just pick one. What do you think is the main one? So if everybody would click on that, what's your primary affiliation? I'm going to do it right now here. Academic researcher, I'm going to click on. And then it says, thank you, your vote has been cast. If you look at the slide that's projected now, you can see who's here. And so the percentages are changing as people are entering their votes. Okay, so this is an immediate way to get a response to a poll. So now, click on Next, and we'll go to the next question. And the next question is, where do you live? Let's find out where everybody lives. And I'm sorry that I had to, because this can only show 6 on the slide, we're not going to get the 2 that have the fewest responses on the slide. But I think that Nadia, who is monitoring Pigeonhole at the front table here, will be able to give me the 2 that don't show up. So I'm going to put mine in. I'm from the Midwest, and I just got thanked again. And so, as expected, about 35% of us are from the Midwest. And then we have a very large contingent from the Southwest, larger than we've had in previous years. And then Northwest and the Great Plains come next. And I used the divisions that I found in some kind of geography website to figure out how to lump states together. And then we have some from the East and some from the Rocky Mountain. And then what are the percentages for Alaska and Hawaii? 4.2% from Alaska and Hawaii. 3.8 from outside. We have some visitors from Ecuador and some visitors from New Zealand, and we have a number of people from Canada, from 4 or 5 different provinces in Canada. So then, yes, thank you.